Hi, thank you so much for watching this part 2 of my story. I'm not going to recap things from the other video. I'm just going to put the link in the description as well as possibly in a little thingy at the top of the screen to go there to watch the first part. I was just really raw. As anybody would imagine, if you've never been in that situation. I just was naked in my emotions. I was just ready to cry in front of anybody, talk to anybody that would listen. In my life at that point in time, I was traveling almost full-time. We were part-time at our office near Joburg and part-time on the road. And I remember just kind of looking at each person, like, can they handle the story? Can they handle what's going on in my heart? Can they listen to me cry? So I started getting worse. I was still feeling basically fine, but the bleeding started getting worse. And we went to the hospital, and that was an ordeal in itself. In a Western country, I don't know how to put that, it would have been a 20-minute in and out thing. But here, I was not a rich person. I still am not. So I had to go to we went to the hospital early. It was pretty early in the morning. Maybe it's not quite as early as you could be, but we ended up waiting for hours and hours. I think it might have been like 4, 5, 6 hours until I got seen. And then I had to go in, get an IV put in, and that was a horrible thing. And the fact that Morton, my wonderful husband, who is a fainter, watched the needle go into my arm and immediately got woozy. All the color from his face left, almost. And he tried to tell the nurse who was trying to take me to the ward that he needed a minute to kind of compose himself. And the guy's like, no, we have to hurry. And Morton tried, but when we got to the elevator, he fainted. His head just went bang into the door, into the wall inside the elevator. And I was pretty mad at that nurse for, like, he could have looked at the pallor of his skin, you know what I'm saying? But it was terrifying that Morton had to leave me there. So I didn't know when anything was going to happen. The only thing anybody ever said to me was, how old are you? And how far along were you? Like, is this not in the file that's at the foot of my bed? Can you not just look there instead of asking me all the time? And also I had to explain I didn't know how far along I was. It could have been like 6 weeks. It could have been like 12 weeks. I don't know. So that was really rough. When I found out I was going to have to spend a second night there, I was just sobbing. I was heartbroken because it was so creepy there. At least by the second night, Morton was able to bring me my earplugs, and my face mask, which I needed to sleep with. I have a hard time sleeping without those things. And during the night, that first night there, people were moaning in pain and screaming in distant corners. And there was no electricity in the bathroom. And there was no toilet paper in there. You had to walk through 2 wards, back through mine and into the third one, past the third one to go into there. So you had to get toilet paper and then carry it with you over. It was a very hard time. And actually getting the D&C, I was terrified because I'd never actually been put under before. So I just remember saying to myself, it's okay. I'll still remember who I am. My name is Katie. I'm a Christian. I love Jesus. Just reaffirming these things in case I forgot them. people who are afraid do weird things. I know. But it was all good. The conditions in the ward were not great, but here in the operating theater it was fine and clean and bright and perfect, and obviously my body didn't get messed up too bad because I have twins now. So a huge blessing of that whole thing, though, was that it basically cost about the equivalent of $15, 150 crowns. Yeah, it was very inexpensive, and I'm healthy. So thank you, Lord, for that. There's more to the story about my time there, but it's just a little bit too painful and too private to talk about, you know? I just felt so empty when it was really over. It was such a deep loss. While at the hospital, Morton told me that Denise, our supervisor at the time, wanted to do something for us. And it was so incredibly moving. She wanted to buy a tree to honor Voyo's memory, a little memory tree. She wanted to take us to a nursery to pick out a little tree, to dig a hole in the yard, plant it, and remember. And I remember just being so overwhelmed by this gesture. I mean, for one reason, things were pretty tight financially. Like, we never had leftovers. We ate every speck of rice on our plates, you know? We didn't waste. We did our best. So that's one reason that it was so meaningful, but another way of just reaching out to us in such a deep way meant a lot. I remember going to the nursery to pick out a tree and just being so overwhelmed by it all that I would walk with them, trying to talk normally and looking at things and looking at flower blossoms on trees, and then just turning corners and crying and just like fitting in these bouts of sobbing in between acting normally. And what we ended up getting was a peach tree with the sweetest little purple blossoms on it. I remember Morton spending all day digging this hole, and it was so much soil, so many large rocks. He worked so hard on this hole to plant this tree, and I got some others. I saved some of those, the bigger stones there, and I went to another part of the yard where there were other large stones, and I carried them from there to the tree to make a circle of stones around the tree. And it felt like my burial process. I remember just thinking how important this was, how meaningful this was, to be able to lay these rocks down. And Denise found what's the word? Like when you go to a Lutheran church or Anglican church and you read responsive readings and liturgy, I guess that's the word. She found a little funeral liturgy, and she printed out copies for us, and we read it, and there were some Bible readings. We might have had a song. And we took some pictures. She took some pictures of us by the tree. And later on, she even painted a little stone with Voyo's name on it and a Bible verse. I feel so disappointed that I didn't go back and visit the tree one more time before we left South Africa. Know that there's always a little part of our heart there. I don't feel sad every day, and I think a lot of people who've experienced early miscarriages and have other children afterwards might feel a kind of guilt for not feeling more sad and not remembering them more. Because life is so busy with 2-year-olds. But I don't live in guilt or anything. I feel like a wistful longing for heaven sometimes, and being able to meet that child, see what they look like. And yeah. So now I'm going to include some pictures of the beautiful little tree and that day. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this. Be blessed.